I truly believe that we have to start seeing the animals and all the other organisms that we share the planet with as being equally entitled to have a decent life as we feel for ourselves. And I think that until we start to think like this, we're not going to be much good for ourselves, for each other. Now that doesn't mean that, we have to have a funeral if we, God forbid, I shouldn't say God forbid, like heaven forbid that we knock over an animal on the road or something. It's not an intentional killing. That's the difference. And I know that we're not going to be feeling the same way as if we had knocked over a human. So there's not exact equality, but the equality is that we grant them as much right to live a decent life as we grant ourselves. This is a very important time, I feel, that the traditional controllers of society are losing their grip, and they're clinging to power. And they're kind of getting probably desperate. We must try and put aside our enmity. How's that? Not hate, but enmity towards them. They are very... it's very frustrating what they do. Run pedophile rings and swindle people into poverty and steal the wealth of a nation. I understand. However, these are very wounded people, much more wounded than the average person. And we are in a very unhealthy society. So you can't blame people for some people going off the edge. For normal people, they have children that sometimes, get into drugs or get into violence or something. And I'm not saying that the person isn't responsible, but when the surrounding malaise is constantly on you, you see it on television, you can see what it's saying. The underlying messages is, you don't matter. You are disposable. We treat everything as disposable. We only care about what we can use, what we can take, and we'll throw some bucks at you, to shut you up. Well, those of us who don't want to live in a world like that, and who believe that we can have the world be much kinder, we have to stop thinking about executing people or jailing them, and we have to start thinking about how should we treat the deeply, deeply wounded and psychopathic or sociopathic members of our organism, of our society. And when we come together, then we'll come up with the answers. But we have to open up our awareness first. That is the number one thing that we have to do, is allow ourselves to be aware of what is going on and how we are implicated. It might make you mad. However, that's a normal way to be when you find out the immense and gross deception that we have always been living under. And now it's time for humanity to make another path.